You are not ready for what truly unfolded behind the glittering facade of the so-called power couple, because for 4 long years, this was not just a relationship the public watched. It was a relationship the public believed in. Their love story was treated like proof that fairy tales could survive money, fame, cameras, and pressure. People didn't simply follow them, they studied them. Their photos were reposted as motivation. Their captions were quoted as relationship advice. Entire comment sections were filled with strangers projecting their own hopes onto 2 people they had never met. And that is exactly why what happened next did not feel like gossip. It felt like betrayal. Today, we peel back the curtain, and what spills out is not a misunderstanding or a private disagreement. It is a storm that had been forming quietly, patiently, beneath layers of applause and perfection, waiting for the exact moment when it could no longer be contained. This truth was not just hidden, it was buried deliberately. Buried under years of curated appearances, controlled interviews, and public performances designed to sell unity. Even people close to them did not fully grasp how close everything was to collapse. What the public saw was balance. What existed behind closed doors was pressure. Pressure to perform happiness. Pressure to protect an image that had become larger than the marriage itself. Pressure to maintain a lie once too many people depended on it emotionally. And when that pressure finally reached its breaking point, it did not crack quietly. It exploded in real time, in public, in front of millions who thought they knew the story. At first glance, everything about them looked immaculate, almost unreal, the kind of perfection that doesn't feel organic but engineered. Their red carpet smiles never faltered, their body language always aligned. Their vacations looked less like memories and more like advertisements for paradise. Even the candid moments felt rehearsed, edited just enough to appear effortless while hiding anything that might disrupt the narrative. Every post reinforced the same message over and over again. This is what winning looks like. This is what love looks like. And the public absorbed it without question. Followers echoed the fantasy relentlessly. Couple goals, blueprint. If they can make it, anyone can. But while millions celebrated the image, cracks were already spreading beneath the surface. Not loud cracks, not explosive ones, but quiet fractures that only those paying close attention could sense. A tension in the air when they entered a room, awkward pauses where warmth should have been, glances exchanged between family members that carried too much meaning to be accidental. People who visited their home whispered about an atmosphere that felt strained, heavy, uncomfortable, as if everyone was walking carefully around something unspoken. Still, no one said anything publicly, because who wants to be the person responsible for destroying an illusion adored by millions? This relationship was not built on trust. It was built on maintenance. Maintenance of expectations, maintenance of appearances, and maintenance of a story that had already been sold to the world. Every appearance became an obligation. Every smile became a responsibility. Every interview became a performance. And each time they stepped into the spotlight, the truth was pushed further into the shadows, tightening its grip, waiting for the smallest mistake that would allow it to surface. The moment that began the collapse did not arrive with drama or spectacle. It was small, so small that most people overlooked it completely. But in a life where everything is curated and controlled, even the smallest misstep is dangerous. One poorly timed decision, one private moment exposed in the wrong setting, one secret surfacing without permission. Suddenly, the carefully constructed facade began to tremble, and once it started shaking, it could not be stabilized. This was not the kind of celebrity breakup people scroll past and forget by the next news cycle. This was different. This was the kind of unraveling that made the internet hesitate. TikTok feeds froze mid-scroll, Twitter timelines erupted with confusion. "Wait, what just happened?" echoed everywhere, because this was never about two people growing apart. It was about deception, about motive, about a narrative that had been crafted so convincingly that even the skeptics had believed it. And when the trigger finally surfaced, it was not rumor or speculation, it was evidence. Heavy, undeniable evidence capable of collapsing years of image building in seconds. Overnight, what appeared to be a calm and respectful separation turned into chaos. Gossip pages pounced, news anchors circled, social media smelled blood, and just when it felt like the story had reached its peak, something happened that rewrote everything. Kandi pulled out her phone. The gesture looked casual, almost unremarkable, as if nothing significant was about to happen, but what followed shifted the entire case. She did not issue a statement. She did not rely on screenshots or secondhand accounts. She played audio, 15 seconds long. That was all it took. In those 15 seconds, Todd's entire defense collapsed under the weight of his own voice, calm, confident, unbothered. The recording contradicted every claim he had made about being pressured, forced, or manipulated. It did not argue, it confessed, and the impact was instant. The internet erupted. Comment sections became war zones. "There's no coming back from this," people wrote, and for once, the exaggeration felt accurate. This was no longer a private legal conflict. It was a public battlefield watched by millions who once believed in the fairy tale. When the judge listened to the recording, the shift in the room was undeniable. The energy changed. The masks fell. The illusion disintegrated. What remained was betrayal, manipulation, and a level of calculation that stunned even those accustomed to celebrity scandals. But this was not the end. It was only the moment the world finally realized how deep the damage went. What began as a quiet filing on November 21, 2025, buried deep within court records, quickly transformed into a spectacle once Todd submitted his response. He did not ask for custody. He did not ask for spousal support. He did not ask for fairness. Instead, he attacked the foundation of the marriage itself, claiming the prenuptial agreement had been forced upon him. He painted himself as cornered, helpless, and manipulated, a man without legal counsel, without time, without choice. The performance was cold and calculated, so much so that even the judge appeared unsettled. And across the room, Kandi did not react. No sighs, no whispers, no visible emotion. She sat perfectly still. That stillness was not fear, it was patience, the kind that comes from knowing exactly what is about to happen next. When the judge asked if she had evidence to counter the claim, Kandi nodded once and opened a folder that had clearly been waiting for this moment for years. The recording played. "I'm good. I want to sign this. No pressure. I love you. This is the right thing." The courtroom froze. Todd's face lost color. His attorney stopped writing. The narrative didn't crack, it collapsed completely, leaving no room for interpretation. From that moment forward, the case dug deeper into the past. Old rumors resurfaced, no longer dismissed as gossip, but discussed as testimony. The Porsche incident, allegations of behind-the-scenes chaos, desperate attempts to regain control followed quickly. Custody demands, DNA requests, revived affair rumors. Each move revealed not strength, but panic. Outside the courtroom, the public began investigating. Old interviews were replayed, red carpet footage was analyzed frame by frame. Gestures that once seemed harmless now felt unsettling. Fans asked the same question repeatedly: how did we miss this? Because it became clear that Todd was not exposing Kandi, he was attempting to rewrite history. However, the most shocking revelation is not speculation, it's not gossip, it's evidence. And it arrives at a moment when no one expected it, ripping through years of carefully constructed narratives in a matter of seconds. But to understand how everything fell apart so dramatically, we need to go back to the beginning, back to the time when everything looked perfect. almost suspiciously perfect. For years, the public believed this couple had it all: money, fame, influence, and a love story that seemed immune to the pressures that destroy most relationships in the spotlight. They weren't just admired, they were held up as proof that success and romance could coexist without compromise. Their relationship became aspirational, something people pointed to when defending the idea that true love could survive fame. Social media played a massive role in that illusion. Their posts were flawless, the smiles never slept, the vacations felt cinematic. Red carpet appearances were polished down to the smallest detail. Every photo looked intentional, every caption carefully worded to reinforce stability, happiness, and unity. To the public, this wasn't just a couple, this was a brand, a blueprint, a visual promise of happily ever after. But behind the glitz and glamour, reality was far more complicated. While fans celebrated milestones online, cracks were already forming off camera. Not explosive arguments or public scandals, quiet fractures, tension you could feel but not quite explain. Friends and family sensed it. Some noticed emotional distance, others picked up on subtle discomfort in private moments, but no one dared to speak publicly. After all, who questions a dream that millions wish they were living? What the public never saw was that this relationship was not simply built on love and trust, it was sustained by maintenance. Maintenance of image, maintenance of expectations, maintenance of a story that had grown larger than the people inside it. Every appearance became an obligation, every smile carried weight, every interview was a performance designed to keep the illusion intact. Behind closed doors, the dynamic was far more fragile. Whispers circulated quietly among those closest to the couple. Conversations stopped when certain people entered the room. Moments of silence lingered longer than they should have, but silence was safer than honesty. Silence protected the image. Silence kept the fantasy alive. And that fantasy worked until it didn't, because no illusion survives forever. Eventually, the smallest crack becomes impossible to hide. The event that triggered everything didn't look dramatic at first. It wasn't a scandal splashed across headlines or a public confrontation caught on camera. It was subtle, a moment that most people overlooked completely. But in a relationship where every detail was curated, one mistake was enough to set off a chain reaction. One poorly timed decision, one private moment exposed in the wrong context, one truth surfacing without permission, and suddenly the foundation began to shake. This wasn't a slow drifting apart. This wasn't love fading quietly. This was something darker, something calculated. Almost overnight, what appeared to be a calm, respectful separation transformed into chaos. Gossip blogs lit up, news outlets jumped in, social media exploded with speculation and disbelief. This wasn't just another celebrity breakup people would forget about in a month. This felt different, heavy, unsettling, because people could sense there was more hiding beneath the surface. What started as a personal matter quickly became a public spectacle. Every move was scrutinized, every statement dissected. And just when it seemed like the story had reached its peak, something happened that completely rewrote the narrative. 30 minutes. That's how long it took for everything to collapse. Kandi reached for her phone. What followed was not a statement or a carefully worded denial. It was evidence, cold, clear, irrefutable. 15 seconds of audio that instantly dismantled the image Todd had spent years building. In those 15 seconds, every claim Todd had made about being pressured, manipulated, and coerced collapsed under the sound of his own voice. Calm, confident, certain. No distress, no hesitation, no fear, just clarity. The internet erupted. Comment sections exploded. People replayed the clip again and again, stunned by how quickly the narrative shifted. This was no longer a legal dispute. It was a public reckoning. Once the recording was introduced, there was no turning back. The courtroom atmosphere changed instantly. The judge listened carefully. The lawyers froze. The audience felt it. The masks had fallen. This wasn't just about a marriage anymore. It was about truth versus performance, about who had been controlling the story and why. But the recording was only the beginning. What initially appeared to be a quiet divorce filing on November 21st, 2025, suddenly turned volatile when Todd submitted his response. He didn't ask for spousal support. He didn't ask for fairness. He went straight for the foundation of the marriage, the prenuptial agreement. Todd claimed he had been forced to sign it one day before the wedding, without proper legal counsel, without time to think, without real choice. He painted himself as a victim trapped in a system designed to corner him. But something about his demeanor didn't match the story. It was cold, calculated, almost rehearsed. And while he spoke, Kandi remained completely still. No visible reaction, no emotional response. That stillness wasn't weakness, it was preparation. When the judge finally asked Kandi if she had evidence to counter Todd's claim, she nodded once and opened a folder that had clearly been waiting for this moment for years. The audio played. "I'm good. I want to sign this. No pressure. I love you. I'm doing the right thing." That was it. Todd's face drained of color. His attorney froze mid-note. The courtroom understood immediately that the narrative had collapsed completely. This wasn't interpretation, it was confession. Once the foundation cracked, everything else followed. Old rumors resurfaced, not as gossip, but as testimony. Incidents once dismissed as tabloid noise were suddenly discussed under oath. The infamous Porsche situation, allegations of behind-the-scenes chaos, stories that had been whispered for years were now part of the official record. Todd's team grew desperate. They revived affair rumors. They attempted to shift focus. They tried to muddy the waters. But the strategy was transparent. This wasn't about truth. It was about confusion. When Mama Joyce's long-standing concerns entered the conversation, the tone shifted again. Her doubts weren't framed as jealousy or interference, but as instinct. She had sensed something from the beginning. One word echoed in the courtroom: opportunity. And suddenly, the question was no longer about love. It was about motive. Outside the courtroom, the public had already decided. Fans replayed old interviews, analysts dissected body language, social media turned into an investigation hub. Patterns emerged. This wasn't about custody. This wasn't about a prenup. This was about control. Every move Todd made followed a strategy: custody demands, DNA requests, financial challenges. Each one appeared timed to redirect attention and reclaim narrative power. But the truth was louder. Kandi didn't fight online, she didn't rant, she didn't plead for sympathy. She stayed silent, and that silence spoke volumes. While Todd continued pushing, filing, demanding, his reputation unraveled. Kandi refused to participate in the circus. She did not cry for cameras or post emotional defenses online. She moved with precision, letting evidence speak while protecting her peace. Her silence was not weakness, it was power, and the world noticed. Todd's reputation did not fade slowly, it imploded. Support evaporated. Former allies distanced themselves. The DNA demand crossed a line that no apology could undo. Communities that once defended him turned critical, dissecting every contradiction and every misstep. And when the dust finally settled, what remained was not victory or vindication. It was silence, the kind of silence left behind when a performance ends and the truth steps into the light. This was never just a divorce. It was the unraveling of a man who had been performing a role for too long. And as the final masks fell, the world wasn't watching a breakup. They were witnessing exposure in real time. And the final chapter has not arrived yet, but when it does, it will tear apart whatever illusion remains.